Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 29 days away from its official release by Disney, Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams, and even creator George Lucas. That is all set and ready to end the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one aspect about Episode 9 that a lot of fans are very curious about has all to do with exactly how J.J. Abrams is going to really utilize the characters of Rey, Kylo Ren, Palpatine, and more in this story from start to finish of Episode 9, and exactly how it's going to have a massive effect on the entire Skywalker saga. Now, this film, by the way, is very important to Disney and Lucasfilm and to the Star Wars community around the entire world because, number one, it will actually wrap up the entire Skywalker saga, and number two, it's going to determine the future of the Star Wars franchise and where things will stand after Episode 9 of everything related to the new trilogy, Disney Plus, new Star Wars projects, new Star Wars lore. I mean, the list goes on. Now, on top of all of this, what's really intriguing about Episode 9 has all to do with the ending/final scene of this movie within Palpatine's throne room. Now, specifically, shot descriptions consisting of a sequence where it's explained that Rey is said to be standing in front of Palpatine's throne, where he is sitting on it in front of Rey, where he then begins to lift up out of his throne and is hanging from the ceiling in front of her, laughing where she actually begins to back up from Palpatine. It's explained that this is the exact moment in which Palpatine begins to tap into Rey's mind and provides her new visions of her parents' death and exactly how they died visually by the hands of his own Sith loyalists. Now, this is described to be Palpatine's way, of actually causing great anger within Rey and an attempt to turn her to the dark side of the Force. Once the visions of her parents end, this is where Sidious makes Rey fight a dark side version of herself in the form of a vision, where Rey is able to defeat Dark Rey, causing her to fall down a deep pit into the depths of the world of Exegol. This is where Sidious begins to become impressed with Rey's power, where she ignites Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber in her hands, where Sidious begins to laugh. After Ben Solo is able to kill off the Knights of Ren one by one outside of Palpatine's throne room, this is where Kylo rushes to Rey's aid and warns Rey about the truth of her lineage and Palpatine's manipulative ways. This is where Palpatine begins to put both Ben and Rey into a Force freeze state, giving them a lecture about the origins of the dark side, and even about Snoke, and even telling them secrets about Luke Skywalker as well. Kylo and Rey are eventually able to break free, where they both ignite their sabers again, side by side. This is where Palpatine still tries to turn them to the dark side of the Force to become a part of his new Rule of Three plan and a part of his new Sith Empire. As all of this unfolds, the dark side to become a part of his new Sith Empire fails, shows Ben and Rey that the First Order and the Resistance are actually dwindling from above. Rey and Kylo Ren are said to block Palpatine's Force lightning when he initiates it at both Rey and Ben Solo, where Kylo is eventually thrown backward, where Rey is left to defend herself alone against Sidious for a while. Now, this is where Palpatine eventually is able to lift Rey up in the sky, using the Force, as well as Ben Solo using the Force conduit technique against both Rey and Ren, draining their energy, allowing Sidious to become youthful and more powerful, where he then drops them both and creates a Force storm in the sky, causing Star Destroyers to fall down to the surface of Exegol that belong to the First Order. Later, Palpatine is said to keep using the Force lightning technique against Rey and Ben, where they block the Force lightning. Eventually, Rey throws Anakin's saber to Ben, where Ben now wields two blue lightsabers, deflecting the lightning back at Sidious in multiple bursts. Eventually, Sidious lifts Ben Solo up and fires Force lightning at him, causing him to fall down a dark and shadowy pit that falls thousands of feet into the world of Exegol. This is where Rey is said to fight Sidious alone, using Anakin and Leia's lightsabers, where the Force ghosts of the past offer Rey energy and become a part of Rey's spirit, allowing her to blow back the lightning at Palpatine, causing him to disintegrate into nothing, being killed by Rey once and for all, thanks to the Jedi who helped her from the netherworld of the Force. So let's go over a couple of parts about this and as to why I think some fans are either going to be very worried about this and or very divided about this. The first thing is the fate of Ben Solo and the actual mystery surrounding Ben Solo's death. Now, Ben Solo's death really has been a very interesting discussion and a big subject that a lot of people have been talking about for the past 2 months. A lot of fans have been very worried about what's going to happen with Kylo Ren / Ben Solo, and if his death is really going to be powerful like Darth Vader's death, or if it's going to be a very weak decision by J.J. Abrams. Now, in my point of view, my own opinion here, my honest opinion, if Ben Solo is simply just thrown down a pit and that's the end of him and he's just dead right then and there, I'm sorry guys, but in my point of view here, that's a very weak decision by Disney Lucasfilm and a very lazy decision by J.J. Abrams. That's just my honest opinion. I feel that there should be more to it than that, and it also kind of contradicts what was done in the recent comic, where Snoke is training Kylo Ren, where he actually falls down a pit, and Kylo Ren is literally able to use the Force to stop himself from hitting the bottom floor of that pit on Dagobah. And if that actually kills him in The Rise of Skywalker, it contradicts, actual lore that was created by Disney themselves. So I do believe that there is more to Ben Solo's fate, and that, a lot of that has to do with the actual moment in which we go over to the world of Tatooine. Now, the other piece that I think is going to create a divide between fans is, of course, how Rey is the one who kills Sidious. And Rey is said to be the one who kills Sidious alone, without Kylo Ren / Ben Solo by her side. Yes, granted that she does get help from Force ghosts of the past over in the netherworld of the Force in that realm. But at the same exact time, they could have done the same exact thing here with either Kylo Ren or both Rey and Kylo Ren. I mean, literally, they could have done that in my point of view. I mean, when you think about Episode 9, they could have absolutely done that. I mean, why wouldn't they, right? So, with that being said, I think that Disney and Lucasfilm, what they're really trying to do is that they're trying to really build Rey up as the character to really be the one who actually had the ability to destroy the Sith once and for all. Hence, that connects to the leaks that we went over, that Disney and Lucasfilm are making Rey the Chosen One and are using her as the extension of the Chosen One prophecy in Star Wars Episode 9. So this final fight, this final battle / scene, if you will, in the third act of Episode 9 between Rey, Ben, and Sidious really does speak volumes. I mean, it sounds like it does have its moments, but there's no lightsaber action for Palpatine. In fact, that is actually going to be a thing in this movie, is that Palpatine will not use his own lightsaber, or any lightsaber at that, in Episode 9. So, if you guys are hoping that Palpatine is going to use a lightsaber, unfortunately, that's not going to be the case in this particular movie, which is honestly a big missed opportunity by Disney and Lucasfilm. I know a lot of fans out there are prequel trilogy fans, including myself, and I always loved seeing Palpatine using a lightsaber, as well as Yoda, I must add. It was a different side of Star Wars. It was a different take on everything related to the Star Wars franchise. I mean, seeing those characters that were old and frail in the original trilogy having the energy that they had in the, prequel trilogy era was quite something, and the fact that Palpatine is going to be rejuvenated in this movie, brought back into a youthful state, and is not going to be able to use a lightsaber, and is not going to be able to use those fighting styles with a lightsaber, I think is a big missed opportunity by Disney and Lucasfilm, and honestly, I think it comes at a waste, to be honest. But Force Lightning, nonetheless, guys, I love Sith Lightning. The fact that Palpatine will be using that against Rey and Kylo Ren, I understand, other people's opinions on that Palpatine, at the end of the day, doesn't really need a lightsaber. He can just use the Force alone, and the Force alone only, to fight his own opponents. And we've actually seen a great example of that in the original trilogy when he fights Luke, and that's a prime example. I just feel that, since there are a handful of fans already used to Palpatine using a saber, especially those who grew up with the prequels, they're definitely looking forward to Palpatine using a saber in this movie. Unfortunately, will not be the case in The Rise of Skywalker. The last thing I just want to touch on here is that, of course, the throne room is said to be the very center of the battle between Rey, Kylo, and Palpatine. There's even a moment in which the Knights of Ren are killed one by one, where Ben Solo uses Leia's lightsaber, slicing them down, one by one outside of Palpatine's, throne room. So that's going to be an interesting experience as well, to see the Knights of Ren actually combat against Kylo Ren, their very own master of all people. So with that being said, I would like to hear what you guys have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
from night to moon.